Welcome to this episode of Wax Pro UNCUT. I'm Rachael.
And I'm Erica.
And we have Brent here today.
How's it going, guys?
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and how I don't know you. I met you briefly, but you know Erica. So can you tell us
Who I am?
who you are?
Well, my name's Brent, and I'm a salon owner and hairstylist for the better part of 20 years now.
20?
Almost, yeah.
gosh.
So
That's a big deal. So the first set of videos that we recorded for like our actual training videos, we recorded in your space. And so I got to see your salon.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it is badass. Like, you
Yeah.
have a really sweet setup over there. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
We
How many
like it.
stylists do you have now?
So we usually range anywhere from like 12 to 15 at a time.
Wow. Yeah,
So.
that's a lot of stylists to work with.
Are they all women? Are you the only
Right now, they're all women.
all women?
Oh, God bless. Lots of patience.
Okay, so are some of them, are they rental? Are they commission? How does your salon run?
We've got a mixture.
Okay.
We've got mostly commission, but we have renters, but it's once they've been with us for a while. We try to offer them more. We don't really take on outside renters.
I see. So like if someone has been with you commission for a long time and they would potentially leave, you would offer them to be a renter?
Yeah,
to
so
keep
that's
them?
kind of the whole thing is we'd rather have the right people working there rather than just a revolving door of stylists.
Yeah.
So we try to get them up to, we set goals for them, get their numbers up and get them set up to where, eventually they have more clients than they have time
Yeah.
for. And rather than them just leaving, we try to offer them more
A
and
spot.
keep them.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into hair? I've never asked you this.
Oh, really? Yeah. So short story long, or long story short.
However that goes.
Right. It was a friend of a friend that I grew up with that got into it, and I could always tell people what to do with their hair, but I had no idea like how to do anything other than like men's cuts. Like even in college, I would kind of cut a lot of the athletes' hair and stuff, but I didn't know anything about it. And when my family friend was going to hair school, I was like asking him like, was there any money involved in it? And he's like, yeah, man. And he like broke down the numbers, if you were, and he was working at the time as a receptionist at a high-end salon. And I couldn't believe that you could make that kind of money as a hairstylist. And so I just like gave it some thought, and then I went and looked at some hair schools a few weeks later probably, and like instantly I was like, I don't know what they're doing, why there's tinfoil on all these chicks' head, but like I want to do it.
I'm in.
So I finished my fall semester of college and then started in the spring and never really looked back.
Okay.
So, what was your experience like in beauty school?
Beauty school was rough. I really didn't get the most out of it, which I could have, but I was bartending, like 5 nights a week. And then the way that the schools were back then, they didn't have these flex hour schedules. It was 8 to 4. So I'd get out of work at like 4 in the morning sometimes. I had to be at work at 8. And so I just, I didn't really like take advantage of a lot of the things that I could have, but I will say I was really, really bad at first, like really bad. I think a lot of the girls just thought I was there just to like hit on chicks because after like
Not a bad plan.
I think it's like
Not a
4
bad
weeks
plan.
they give you your money back if you decide it wasn't for you, and they all totally just thought I was there to like
For the 4 weeks to get numbers, they're
and
like,
then
he's
was
still
gonna
here.
leave. And so I was like really bad, and I told myself I'm gonna give myself like 6 months, and if I don't start getting it, I might have to reconsider. And then right around 6 months I started getting it, but it was kind of funny because all the girls in the school, like they would all work on each other's hair and get practice, and no one would let me touch their hair.
Right.
So fortunately I was a bartender, so I'd always just like
Give out your card and say, come to my
like
ball.
all the cocktail waitresses and stuff like that. And then like 6 months in or 7 months in, I started getting pretty good. And then all the girls at the school wanted me to do their hair.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Right.
Yeah, now.
Oh, now you want
Too
me.
busy. Too busy now.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any interest in going just to like barber school?
No, not
It was
really.
always going to be cost for
No,
you.
because I knew like
Where the money was.
call it my ADHD, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do just one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So.
Did you ever try other services outside of hair?
No, I actually, in Arizona, especially at the time, we're licensed cosmetologists. So I went to a total hair school, but you're licensed to do skin and nails. And so I actually missed the day that they did like the facials and everything. And then I went down, the first day I was on the floor, I paid the receptionist, or I told them I'd buy them lunch if they never scheduled me a manicure or pedicure.
Okay. So I don't know
That's
if my
great.
so my husband and I own a salon. We're in Central Phoenix, and he has a very similar story. I was like, "How did you never wax a single person?" And he was like, "I paid off the front desk girls to not give me nails
that's
or
funny.
wax."
That's
Wow.
funny.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "What is wrong with
Yeah.
schooling like
That's
that?"
hilarious.
I mean, I don't blame you at all, but
Yeah.
that's like you can get a license to
Yeah.
say you can do it all, and you're like,
I
"I
just
had to
knew
slide
I was
somebody."
never gonna want to
No,
do it.
right.
you
So
know?
it's
Yeah.
safe to say you didn't have the wax education at school.
I definitely didn't, but I will say my instructor made me do one eyebrow on this chick that we went to school with, and I did it, and I like did it fine. But when I did it, she totally screamed as if I did something wrong. She's like, ah, and everyone's like looking, and I'm like, what? What did I do? She's like, oh, nothing. I was just scared. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
well,
so mean. You're like, look, you
He's
already
like,
have the
one
odds
and
stacked
done.
against me.
but it actually was a good looking eyebrow. So
Yeah, I'm
There you
sure.
I thought so.
Great. So, okay, you went to beauty school. Tell us about your experience thereafter. How did you eventually become, 12, 15 chair salon owner?
Good question. So I went and worked at a salon, a high end salon that I really wanted to work for. Worked there, and it was a great salon. Had some really good mentors, but I just saw in that space that they were going to keep people under their thumb as much as possible, And I didn't. I got into the industry to have freedom, so I was one of the only people that after my apprenticeship was up, I was like, well, see ya, and the owner would kind of pull me in a couple times, why are you leaving, and I wanted more flexibility.
Yeah.
So I went and worked at a different salon. That was a great opportunity. And then it was I was a year and a half in, 2 years in, and that was when that recession hit. So I went from thinking I was hot shit because I worked at a salon that was getting a ton of walk-ins, and then that salon closed. I went to another salon. I should have stayed on commission, but I went rental. And that's a story I kind of share with a lot of my new stylists. And then, I realized real quick, holy crap, I don't know how to get people in my chair. You can be the best at whatever, but if you don't know how to network and everything. So I just had to be innovative. And I ended up working with a couple guys that were brothers that I worked with at the first salon that opened up a smaller little 5-chair salon, and they had a lot of cool ideas. They were good friends of mine. And kind of got the opportunity there. I was building myself up, but then I was just kind of helping them try to get the salon going as well. So it was kind of a really cool situation to where I never had the desire to open my own salon or anything, but I wanted to see them succeed, and I enjoyed the business side of it. So I just kind of helped with that, and then I originally thought one day we'll probably outgrow this, and then the three of us will all
Split
kind
off,
of
yeah.
just go get a big building and do it ourselves, or do it together. But they totally wanted to just stay there, which was cool. You know what I mean? But I kind of had a major ceiling for what I was doing. I had tons of overflow, that I was handing out to the salon, and it was just time for me to make a move.
To go.
So
Yeah.
That's
just
pretty amazing, though.
cut the cord,
And so that's when you went and opened your own from that
Yeah.
point on. And is that what you opened where you're currently at? Or
Yeah.
you okay.
Yeah.
So you went big.
Big. So, tell viewers where you're located.
So we are Salon 480, and we are located on the southwest corner of Scottsdale Road and Shea.
Yeah.
If you guys are familiar with that, it's a 2-story gray brick building. A lot of people are familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is your Instagram handle that people can follow the salon?
For the salon, it's salon, and then it's 480, but the spelling is tricky. It's
Okay.
FOUR, the number 8,
Oh.
and then ZERO.
Cryptic.
So cryptic.
Which stands for the area code of
Yeah.
Scottsdale.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot
I
of
like
people
that.
are like, what's that mean?
So, speaking of the gray building, how did you choose that space specifically?
So interestingly enough, I worked in Scottsdale for a long time, so I drove by that building all the time, and I actually hate when people ask me what it was before, because it was a salon. But
it was?
I tell people it could have been a tire shop. It
Yeah.
wouldn't have mattered because I didn't use a single wire. It was just a total
Rebuild. You did.
Yeah,
you gut the whole thing and start over? Yeah.
complete remodel. But it was a salon, and I used to always just drive by that building. I mean, because it's just such a unique building, especially for Scottsdale. It's
Yeah.
a little older. It's 2 stories, and I was like, man, if I had that building, I really think I could do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then, as fate has it, it was available. The build out was a disaster.
Was it?
Just, it's your typical story. You
Yeah.
know, you hire a contractor who was actually one of my clients.
Oh God,
And
we've heard
he-
this all the
Story.
time.
Yeah.
Overpromised and underdeliver.
Yeah.
It was really bad, but his vision was really, really good. So, from a design aspect, like the shop wouldn't have been
Yeah,
how it
what
was,
it
because
is
it's
with
really
them.
cool. It's all old rustic steel and concrete floors and
Yeah, it's cool in there.
Old
It's really
barn
cool.
wood from like a old barn in New York that's like 120 years old. So yeah, red brick, you know.
Yeah.
And so then, did you have to ditch that contractor and get a new one? Like, what happened? Or
So,
he finished the job?
We finished, but then I spent like a year and a half fixing all this
Oh,
stuff.
no.
But even throughout the build out, like it was just he'd say he was going to be there building, and then he wouldn't. He wasn't
Yeah.
there, and it was just
Messy.
Yeah, it was stressful.
Yeah,
but
right.
a lot of people have been in situations like that.
Yeah.
So just be really, really careful with who you choose. You know, if you're going to do a brick and mortar, who your contractor is, get some paperwork. You know, to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Makes sense.
make sure they're a licensed contractor.
Yeah. Step one.
You'd
Yeah,
be surprised.
actually, that was one of our earlier episodes. They weren't even licensed to do
Yeah.
the build out for
Yeah.
her salon.
Yeah, there's
so
scary stories out there.
yeah, for sure. So obviously, you have a 20-year profile, right? So you've been building up for a long time, and you started off in beauty school, and you've worked for people, and then you've were kind of like a partner with the other two guys, and then you branched off to do your own thing. So you get it. You have a lot of employees. You've had a lot of employees. What does it take? Like, what is the X factor for the stylists that make it in the industry and the ones that don't?
The ones that grind, the hustle's real. So, what I notice, especially now, is like, versus even like 5-10 years ago, it used to be like you had to hustle to even like get the job and keep the job, right? And nowadays it's like the hustle's just hard to find, but I do see the ones that do hustle and really like are go-getters, like they do very well because they have like an
have it in 'em,
advantage,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I notice the most. And I always just tell people like just do a little more than the average Joe, and
You'll be
and
okay.
it-
Like a
to
little
pay
bit
off,
above
yeah.
the bare minimum.
Yeah,
Right.
because all the industries, they're all kind of the same. We want to have more business than we have time for. And if you hustle when you start out, and I kind of have a little formula that I've created that it took me like a decade plus to figure out, just trying a lot of things that worked and didn't.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, follow this formula, and I promise you within 2 to 3
Yeah.
years, like you can have like whatever lifestyle you want.
Yeah.
And if you want to coast and cut back your days like behind the chair, like you can do that,
So it's safe to say that in the beginning, at least the first few years, it's pedal to the metal, right?
Yeah, you got to be. But a lot of people these days, I think they truly think like, oh, well, if I ever have to work that hard, I can just like push this button and I can
It
do it.
doesn't work
And
that
it's-
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will you hire a stylist right out of school, or do they have to have experience to work for you?
You have to do like usually what they'll do is they'll apprentice
Okay.
before.
Yeah.
And then
But yeah.
yeah, don't ever say never. We actually do have one girl but she did assist while she was in hair school, and it was a little bit of a slow start, but she's turned out
Got
to
the
be
hang of
great
it,
and
yeah.
stuff. But yeah, you have to like have experience outside of school,
Yeah.
before you step
Before you
in
can
that
just go.
chair,
Yeah.
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 So now that you know what you do, being in business, and you have multiple businesses, right? What do you wish you would have known about ownership before that you now know?
I guess what I tell people is I never knew that I was going to be responsible for people's happiness inside and outside of work. You know what I mean?
You need to have lunch with my husband.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's like,
Yeah,
I have
it's
to worry
just-
about everyone's well-being and their emotions, whether they're
Yeah.
happy at the salon or out of the salon.
Yeah, managing people is the hardest part of the job, and anybody with employees will tell you that. It's also really rewarding. There's a lot of good things, and you just have to like remember the people that really believe in you and appreciate you and go to work every day and work hard, and and that's why it's great. Like at least the way I run, my like scale is, you know, for the first 2 or 3 years we're in business together. My goal is to get you to where like you don't need me anymore, and you can, if you want to go and branch out and open your own salon, like if I know you got what it takes, that maybe I'll fund you, you know. I don't know. But people are meant to spread their wings. But
For sure.
But yeah, it's just, the managing people, it's hard, you know, like no matter how well we do our job, we have to rely on other people.
Yeah, no,
So.
absolutely.
Where do you look for inspiration in the industry?
Hair shows are always great for us, which is cool. There's obviously, you know, a bunch of cool podcasts, but I get a lot of inspiration from friends, family, and then clients especially. You know, I've learned so much.
Because you still have a full book of clients, right? You take clients, you're not just the owner. Okay. Yeah.
So how'd you build that book of business? Like, I know obviously it's not just like 1, 2, 3 and that's it, but what's some tips for our viewers?
So like what I did, again, I was like, I felt like I was running in quicksand. You know, I was working at this busy salon, that the economy was good. And then I was like, man, I thought I was like the hottest shit. And then they closed, everything slowed down, and like my clients were moving away and cutting back their services. So I just was like, man, like I have to get creative. And back then, like Instagram wasn't even a thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I did was I went and worked at like a blow dry bar. And my mentality was like, hey, I'm going to get paid for people to sample my work, you know?
Ooh.
And so that's how I really got started. And then it just crazy how stuff snowballs. Like one of my clients that I met through one of the blow dry bar introduced me to like a networking group, which changed my career forever.
Really?
And it just comes down to the more people you know. But you also, you just get iron sharpens iron. So you're constantly, or once a week, you know, you're meeting with a bunch of small business owners that are like-minded, and they'll share information and tricks that have helped them and both. And then at that time, what was really crazy, and it's kind of laughable now, but at the time, like Yelp had just started.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like, I mean,
Yelp.
no offense to my mom, but my mom uses Yelp now. You know? So, there's different, obviously, platforms, but at the time it was actually a lot of like young techie people, and Yelp's headquarters were here. And so through my networking group, we kind of were like, hey, has anyone heard of Yelp? And we kind of were like, let's try to help one another. And we left honest reviews. Well, in the hair industry, I don't know how it is in wax too, but like we're like light years behind everybody, especially when it comes to technology stuff. And so I was like the first hairstylist in Scottsdale to have like
Yelp
multiple reviews. Like I think I had like 30, and you know, someone
and
else
you
had
have
like
like
4.
a shit ton now.
Yeah, and then, that's even in the new salon, which we haven't even like, or you know, since I opened my salon, which we didn't even like push for that.
Yeah.
I mean, reviews we'll take any type of review.
No, but you have a ton of
But
reviews.
yeah, so everything just kind of snowballed. So I was already doing, you know, really, really well between like the blow dry bar and then the networking thing, and then once the Yelp thing took off for me, was when it was just like I had like so many more. I was just like handing off clients left and right to my coworkers and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
So what are some pros and cons of being a business owner?
Pros and cons. There's a lot of pros, you know. There is flexibility. For me, it's I love to help other people. So I love when, you know, I think I have like 5 or 6 stylists in the salon now, give or take, that were my former assistants. I have several that have gone and done their own thing. So it's really cool just to just kind of help. I always just say I like to just kind of pretend that my hand's on their back and I'm just like there to help guide them if they need it, and you know, until they just don't need it anymore. With lots of things, you know, just things like even in life like that. I made mistakes when I was younger, and I wish somebody would have been there to say, hey, like maybe don't buy that new car just yet. Like put down X amount of money. But it is cool when you see them, you know, grow up, and then they do get their car and they buy their first house and they start having, you know, this huge following of clientele, and they do great work, and you know, it's good to know that, you know, you helped with it, you know.
Yeah. And so on the flip, the cons.
The cons, you know, personalities are hard. But honestly, it's more like we hold ourselves to the highest standard. So like we're in our heads a lot, you know what I mean? My first year of owning a salon, you know, I had a huge leak, and it was Christmas Eve, and I was on my way to do Christmas with my family, and I was like down at the salon dealing with like a plumbing issue, and it's just part of ownership, you know what I mean? So it's not so much a con, like when stuff breaks, it's gonna break, you know what I mean? And so, but you just have to be, you really have to be committed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when you have to channel your why.
Yeah,
When
like I
you were-
recently just had a couple of my girls that have been with me a long time, they bought into the salon and each got a % so that they can run the salon now, so I
okay.
don't have to. And they're doing a great job, and they're learning a bunch, and
Congrats.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it's a
Pass
work in
the baton.
process,
Yeah.
and like they tell me all the time, like, how did you do this by yourself? Like, there's 2 of them now, to where they can split the work, and we're fortunate to take over an already running, profitable, functioning business, and it's
Yeah.
been a lot for them to learn. And
Right.
I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know, you just gotta, you know,
just do
fuck
it.
around and find out.
Yeah, that's right. So, Rachel brought up, you know, that's where your why kicks in. What is your why? What keeps you going?
My why? I mean, I think more than anything, again, I like to help people, but I like to challenge myself, and I like my lifestyle. I love, you know, I'm a total believer of like work hard, play harder.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I love working, but everything in moderation. Like too much of anything, at least for me, is never a good thing. So as much as I love to travel, I'm always stoked to come back
Yeah.
and work and. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like us. Work hard, play hard.
Well, I want to know what like your craziest client story is. Do you have one?
Oh.
Flashing back.
Come on. I mean,
Vietnam is just flashing everywhere.
it's not so much. It's not me.
We would love to
but
hear
in
a
the
client.
salon, there was one time there was this chick getting her hair done.
This chick.
This lady, whatever. You'll see. And
Call her what you will.
her boyfriend like comes in and like starts yelling out of nowhere, like I don't know what was going on, and he's like, "You always get what you want," and he like slams a bottle of vodka down
In front of her?
in front of her
In your salon.
in the salon, because apparently she like was supposed to not be drinking. I don't know, but I don't know what happened. I just saw when he was there, and he like
Where did
slams
this
the
vodka bottle come
He
from?
like brought it to her. He like went to the store, and then he like slams it down and caused all this commotion. And then our salon's upstairs, right, and we have parking underneath. And he like gets on his motorcycle and he like revs it all out. And like,
Oh,
you know, this is like a
God.
salon, you know, in Scottsdale with a bunch of soccer moms and stuff. And I was like, what in the
Like,
hell
what is
just
happening?
happened, you know?
What,
Just one that comes to mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, what happened afterward? Did you like have to talk to the customer, to the stylist? Like, what was the, I guess, the control afterward?
You know, I think body language said it all. Like everybody in the salon was just like, you know, but fortunately, like, you know, a lot of our stylists are leaders too, and so they handled it pretty well within their clientele. And anytime something like that happens, if there's something that goes on and a client is maybe, you know, not happy for whatever reason, then they relay the message, and, you know, I'll step in if I have to. That time I didn't, you know.
Right.
Like, let's just see how
I
this
hate to
plays
be
out.
stereotypical, but because I've managed so many women, and I think Brent and I have connected a lot about managing all women, but there's been a lot of crazy shit just from like the boyfriends or the exes or the spouses. It's like most of the drama with my staff always came from that.
It's not just women though. Like
No,
one
true,
of my
true.
best friends has a barber shop, and it's the same stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
Same stories.
We need to get a barber in here.
Yeah.
Probably hear some crazy girl
But
stories.
I do have. You guys want to hear crazy?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the
That's-
only
that's
analogy.
what we do this for.
This is the only analogy I can tell people is this is the difference that I've noticed with women and men, to where like let's just pretend we're barbers, and if I use your chair for whatever reason, and you come into work and I left it a mess, like there's hair everywhere, whatever, like I know I'm supposed to clean it up. I used your chair, and you have every right to be like, hey, what the hell, you know? So with guys, like if you did that to me, I would be like, dude, I'm so sorry. I totally spaced it. It'll never happen again. And then we would not even think about it. We would be like, whatever. But there's instances like that in the salon where they're like, the one girl gets mad because it's like, how dare you call me out?
Yeah.
Even though like you're the one that did a
Yeah.
shitty job and didn't like clean up after yourself. And then they try to pull other people on their side. And then now this tiff lasts like 2 to 3 weeks and there's multiple people
Casualties.
involved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's like it's a whole dragged out
It's a
ordeal.
phenomenon. I've talked about
Yeah.
this before in sports. Like I've seen guys like straight up talking shit to each other like in the middle of a softball game, and,
then they're
after we're like, "Good game,
Oh, yeah.
right?"
Totally.
But
Look at
for
a beer.
me, I'm like, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna kick your ass in the parking lot. I'm
Yeah.
gonna see you at Walmart, and I'm gonna want to kick your ass there. It's so
Kick your mom's
bad.
ass.
It's so bad. I wouldn't, but I feel that way for a long time. I don't want that to be me.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Fortunately, it's our salon, like the biggest compliment I can get is when people come in and they're just like, I just love the vibe here. You can really tell everyone loves being in here and everyone genuinely likes helping one another, but not every day is butterflies and rainbows.
Yeah. No.
So I don't know hair services or like your full menu. Like you've cut my hair a lot. Actually, I think you're the only hairstylist I've seen in a long time. But what's your favorite service to perform?
Again, the ADHD in me, I mean, I really like it all. I just like to be creative. So, there's a different level to everything because I do, all types of haircuts, all types of colors, and I do hair extensions, and everything just brings a different thing to the table. So if I'm just doing nothing but doing like balayaging and highlights, which happens just one after another because I always work with an assistant, so I'm double, triple booking. But if it's just like all foil or balayage work, then I'm like, shit, can I get a haircut?
Please,
But at the
give me
same
something
time, like
different.
with extensions, like it's really therapeutic. Like I couldn't even sew a button on a shirt.
But you
before I
can do
learned it.
extensions
So,
with your eyes closed, probably.
I mean,
With your eyes peeled.
I'm still a guy, but no, I mean, but it's therapeutic. But I certainly wouldn't want to do just extensions. That would, I think, get tedious, the actual install of it. But it is really cool to like extensions. Just bring a whole different
The transformation.
dynamic as far
yeah.
as creativity, and you can do so much more. And the confidence that women have
Yeah.
when they have them. So
Absolutely. Well, I've never had extensions, but I imagine.
you don't need them.
Yeah, you do not need them.
But if you did have them, you wouldn't be getting a blow dry after a haircut with me because I don't got 4 hours.
Yeah, no, that's for damn sure. So, granted that a lot of our viewers are future entrepreneurs, what is like top 1 or 2 things, like piece of advice that you would give to them to be successful?
But really, you just have to believe in yourself. But you really have to be willing to just like work, like really, really hard.
Yeah.
To get to wherever you want to be, But that's what I tell people. Like it's okay to like, have balance and everything. But when you're first starting out, like just get after it and like just kind of put your blinders on. Don't pay attention to what so and so is doing just because they're going on trips every time. You don't know what their financial situation is or
Right.
who's helping them.
Who's paying their bills?
Pave your own road, and that was one thing, and it's no knock to the people I worked with before, but one of the guys I worked with, I really looked up to him and I learned a lot from him. But then once I stepped away, what I realized was I was actually like kind of cheating myself because I was comparing everything to what he did. But even though he had built a great career and all that, like I really like realized like what I was made of, because I kind of stepped out
Yeah.
of the shadow.
Yeah.
And I would have never known had I not done that,
Yeah. Well, spoken like a true leader. Thank you so much for coming on to our
Yes,
show
thank
today.
you.
Oh, thank
It
you
was
for
great to
having
hear
me.
your
Learned a
insight.
lot about you, and again, make sure you follow Salon 480 on all the socials. And thank you, Brian.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.